Hello, and welcome to the video. Today we're gonna be talking about um the stats, gear, stats, gems, and little frost for melee gear, melee classes. I'm basically gonna go into detail about just the stats. I'm not gonna talk about how to get them or how to upgrade your gear. Basically, just what stats you want. Alright, so starting with armor and weapon choice. So if you are a melee DPS class, you're gonna want leather. It's going to give you a balance between defense and magic, physical and magic defense, and it's also going to give you the most amount of damage. As for weapons, you can choose either a two-hand weapon or you can choose to have two one-hand weapons, which is a dual wield. If you have a two-hand weapon, it's basically going to give you a slower attack speed and higher damage per hit. With dual wield, you will be able to use the swift blade skill set, which is a lot faster. Also has higher single target damage. Two hand has higher AoE damage. But basically, if you are going to play with two hand, your weapon choices are long spear, great sword, and adachi, great axe. So long spear is going to give the slowest attack speed and highest damage, as well as slashing damage type, which does more damage against leather. Great axe has the same speed and damage as long spear, but great axe is crushing instead of slashing damage. What that means is that great axe will do bonus damage to both leather and plate, but since nobody's really wearing plate and you don't want to hit anybody in plate anyways, we don't really play with great axe. Long spear is better. Great sword and nodachi are essentially the same in terms of their speed and their damage. The difference is just the appearance, but it is faster than the long spear. Does slightly lower damage, but it can be good if you want more of a faster playstyle. And they are both slashing, so you can also go with these. If you're going to play dual wield with swift blade, the best weapons are dagger and great axe. Dagger is going to give you the most attack speed if you have it in your right hand, and axe will give you the most damage with slowest attack speed in your left hand. Also, dagger is a slashing weapon, which is why you want to have it in your right. Katana and sword are kind of in between dagger and axe in terms of speed and damage. So they're okay choices, but objectively not the best. There's not really any reason to use them. And short spear has the slowest attack speed, higher and highest damage, but it can only go in the right hand. With swift blade, it's not really great because it's just going to give you a really slow attack speed. And also in general, it's not great because if you're using it to play battle rage, you're not going to do as much damage as you would with a two-hand weapon. So short spear, there's pretty much no reason to use it. Alright, so now as a melee class, your main stats are going to be strength and stamina. Strength is going to increase your melee attack, your overall damage. Your stamina is going to increase your health and your defenses. So basically, you want to have a split between both. I would say generally starting out, you want to have about 50-50 strength and stamina. And then as you upgrade your gear and you increase your stats, you want to cap your strength at somewhere around 1500. The reason why is because after you pass 1500 of the strength stats, the anything after gives diminishing returns, and so you want to put the rest of your points into stamina to increase your survivability. And then for stat migrations, you want to start by subtracting from agility first, because agility does nothing for you, and then after that subtract from spirit. The reason why I would subtract from spirit instead of intelligence is because intelligence is going to increase your mana pool. Spirit gives you mana regen, but I would say in most scenarios it's better to have more mana as opposed to having less mana with a little bit more regen from spirit. So subtract from agility and spirit. Alright, so now let's talk about weapon stats. So for your gems, you have a choice between crit damage or defense penetration. So what is the difference between these? Basically with crit damage, you are going to do more damage in PvE. Defense penetration, generally they say that you do more damage in PvP. However, what I would say is crit damage, when you build a full crit damage build versus a full defense penetration build, crit damage is always going to do more, but defense penetration is good for doing damage when you don't have a lot of stats. So basically, in other words, in a full build, crit damage will do more damage overall. Defense penetration is good if you are kind of splitting your stats between offensive and defensive. Defense penetration will allow you to do some damage in PvP while still having points in your stamina or your armor or whatever. But overall, crit damage will allow you to do more damage in both PvP and PvE. Defense penetration only really benefits PvP, and so it's up to you. But you're gonna want strength and stamina for your first stat, and then you're gonna want to have melee crit rate. Even if you are defense penetration, you do want to have crit rate because getting crits is important no matter which one you are. And then if you're going with the crit damage build, you want to take melee crit damage, and defense penetration build, you want to take defense penetration. For your Lunafrost, you're gonna want to take the melee skill damage 3% for your two hand. If you're using a dual wield, you're gonna want the 2% one. And then for your bow, you can just use the 2% range skill damage for extra gear score. Alright, now for the head, the gems that you want, melee crit rate is pretty much for everyone. Strength and stamina for your main stat, and then you want to have receive melee and receive magic for your other two stats. You can also you'll also be okay with receive range damage, resilience, or max health, but these stats would be the best. And then for your Lunafrost, you're gonna want this stealthy detection Lunafrost. For your chest and feet, you're gonna want to take resilience gems, and then stats, main stat, strength and stamina. Other two stats receive melee and magic, and you'll be fine if you have receive range, resilience, or max health. And then for your chest, you're gonna want to have the 3% receive damage Lunafrost, and for feet, you're gonna have the toughness Lunafrost. Alright, for your belt and wrist, you're gonna have strength and stamina, main stat. Then you want to have backstab melee damage. This is a must-have on both your belt and your wrist. And then toughness. You will also be okay if you have receive healing instead of toughness, but ideally toughness because it's going to reduce your damage taken in PvP. For your gems, if you're playing two-hand with Battle Rage, then you want to have triple slash gems. If you're playing Swiftblade, then twin shadow slash gems. For your wrist gems, the impact gem that gives trip duration is really good for melee because trip is your main form of CC. The escape gem is also good if you can get a hold of that for reducing the total amount of time that you get CC'd in PvP. If you're playing with occultism, which pairs really well with melee classes, then you might want to go for the trauma gem. And then the movement gem is a good budget gem just for gear score. And then for the Lunafrost, you can get these lunar drops right here. The earth will give you stamina, fire will give you strength. For your hands, you're going to want to take parry rate gems, strength and stamina main set, receive melee, receive magic damage, and then you'll also be okay with receive range, resilience, and max health. And then for your Lunafrost, you want to take the melee crit damage 12%. For your pants, you want to have toughness gems, strength and stamina main stat, receive melee, receive magic damage. You'll be okay with these, and then toughness for your Lunafrost. For your instrument, you want to take attack speed gems, and then for your stats, strength, stamina, melee attack, and parry rate are going to be the best. And then for your Lunafrost, you can use this one, the Indomitable Hostility, which is going to give you melee attack and physical defense. Now for your cloak, when you first get your cloak out of Furium, you're going to get strength, stamina, and then third stat is going to be either strength, intelligence, spirit, or agility. Whichever one it is, just leave it at that, because you cannot change that yet. And then once you get to Delphinad, you're going to unlock the class specific stat, which is going to be backstab damage or melee crit damage. So you have to choose one of these. As for which one you should go for, if you're going to do any PvP at all, then backstab damage is this is a pretty good choice. The reason why is because melee crit damage, even though the amount that they give you is higher than the backstab damage, and in PvP, because of resilience, the melee crit damage will be reduced anyways. However, backstab damage will not, and so backstab damage is better if you have any interest in ever damaging another enemy player ever. Once you get to Ionad, now you have the option to re-roll that third useless stat. You want to get resilience here. Ideally, you'll also be okay if you get receive healing, but resilience is going to be the best. Once you get to Aranor, it's going to be the same stats, and then once you awaken to Radiant Aranor, then you're going to unlock that fifth stat, and for that one you can get the receive healing or the resilience depending on which one you did not get from here. And then once you get to Brilliant Aranor, it's basically the same. Now for Lunar you can use the Perfect Fire or Perfect Earth. Fire is going to give you more strength. Earth is going to give you more stamina. If you PvP more, I would recommend the Perfect Earth because this one can actually heal you in PvP. It's pretty nice. Now for your costume, perfect stats, you want receive damage, melee skill damage, melee crit rate, defense penetration, or melee crit damage, and backside melee damage. You will also be okay with these stats right here: melee attack, resilience, max health, toughness, receive healing, or receive melee magic and range damage. And then if you have these stats, you will also be okay, but I would recommend re-rolling these stats first, trying to get these stats, or these. And then for your Lunastone, you want the Enoch Lunastone that decreases received damage. This is good for decreasing your damage in PvP. For your undergarments, you want to take receive melee, receive magic damage. These are essential for staying alive. Since you are a melee, you're going to be on the front lines a lot. Backside melee damage, melee crit rate, melee skill damage, that's going to be your main damage. You will also be okay if you have these stats: melee attack, resilience, max health, toughness, receive healing, receive range damage, and defense penetration. And if you have these stats, you will be okay, but ideally you want to re-roll these and try to get some of these. And then for the Lunafrost, you're going to want the Luna tier. You can get strength or stamina, whichever you prefer. For the necklace, so if you go with the Proven Warrior necklace, this is really good for melee classes for giving you that minus 6% received damage, so this will make you very tanky. These stats are you cannot change them, so it's predetermined. If you get a Soul Liberator, which will give you offensive stats, these are what you want. You're going to want to have strength or stamina main stat, melee skill damage, melee attack, and defense penetration. You will also be okay if you have attack speed and focus, but you want to reroll these to get these three right here. And then you can also use the Indomitable Hostility Lunafrost again. For your earrings, you want the Noryat earrings, strength, stamina, receive damage, and max health. These three stats are basically the best. There's no reason to have anything else. This is what you want exactly. And then same Lunafrost, Indomitable Hostility. For your rings, so with the Noryat ring, that gives you the offensive stats: strength, stamina, melee skill damage, defense penetration. You will be okay if you have attack speed or focus, but you want to get these ideally. And then for the Flawless Haram ring, when you get it, you're going to want receive damage, melee skill damage, and defense penetration. These are the best stats for melee. And then same Lunafrost, Indomitable Hostility. And that's all.